Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to Side Hustle Ideas. I am Bill, the company's expert, and we are live. This is the stream where we talk about everything related to side. I was going to say everything related to live streams, but no, everything related to side hustles. If you are someone who is considering doing a side hustle, or you are actively attempting to do a side hustle, this is the place for you. And this is going to be primarily a Q&A. So if you see the chat right next to my video and you're here, say who you are and ask a question. Ask away, because I primarily rely on questions from you guys to give me some direction in what people want to know about. And I will try and help you to the best of my ability. This is coming from many, many years of mentoring startup founders and small business owners, and working in mid-sized business and helping to grow businesses, and having a corporate career before that, and a career as an entrepreneur also. So yeah, if you are wanting to do this, I got great news for you. You can. It's not rocket science. It's not the end of the world. Can you learn how to do this overnight? Usually not, but it's something that is really not that big of a challenge, as evidenced by the fact that so many people are successful in business in this world, and there has never been a better time to start your own business or start your own side hustle, which basically is your own business, except that you also have a day job, and that's the best of both worlds. I got a comment yesterday basically asking why I'm doing this, why I'm talking about side hustles, and the reason is that it is a natural extension of what my YouTube channel is mainly about, which is how to get a job. And there are a lot of people that are between jobs, a lot of people that are sort of lamenting the fact that either they can't discover good jobs, or all the jobs that they've had tend to be very dissatisfying, either in the nature of the work that you do, it's very mundane and tedious, or you got to deal with an oppressive boss or something like that. And I've got great news for all those people, is that there are other things in life that can make you a lot of money other than simply working as an employee. Okay, that's the default career path for a lot of people. And I'm not knocking it. There's nothing wrong with it. But there is more beyond that. That's not where it begins and ends. Okay, there is a whole wonderful world out there where you can generate money by yourself. And that's what side hustles are. Side hustles are a beautiful way to sort of stick your toe in the water of that world and learn about it and develop those skills, while simultaneously not betting the farm and not taking huge financial risks or huge personal risks in order to do it. So that's the wonderful thing about it. And while we're waiting for questions, I guess I will talk about a couple of topics. A couple of things that came up recently. I was talking to some students actually that were interested in this subject matter, and one thing that I can impart, that I can help them with, because they were naturally wondering, like, what should I do? I'd like to get into the world of business. I'd like to do my own side hustle, but what should I pick? What is there? And I was saying to them, okay, there are many things that you can use to sort of help you come up with ideas, or just basically come up with ideas or possible businesses that you might want to get into, or at least you might want to try. Okay, you might want to, in a carefully controlled way, you might want to test the waters and see if it has any potential. And one of the principles that guides that I don't think I've yet talked about on this live stream, what are we, episode number 8 or something? I haven't talked about it yet, is some of these principles, like fish where the fish are. This applies to a lot of things in life, including how to get a job. If you want to find a job, the idea was you go where they're hiring, right? You go where the money is. And that applies equally to starting a business or a side hustle. You fish where the fish are. What side hustles can make you the most money, and you will have a lot of business that will be high paid business? Well, one principle that guides you is follow the money, fish where the fish are. A lot of lawyers and things and accountants have the right idea, because A few years ago, like 10 years ago or so, I used to go to a lot of business events. I don't really do that kind of stuff anymore, but I used to go to a lot of local business events. You would have trade shows, you would have association meetings. And I mean, I remember going to real estate association meetings where you would have you'd have an event and all the players in the real estate industry would show up. Okay, so people that build houses, like builders, developers, all the contractors, the people that do the work. And then that even goes to like institutional customers, people that are wanting to buy commercial buildings or residential properties or, like all that stuff. Everybody that kind of plays in that business. And something I noticed very early on that kind of hits you is that there's a lot of people that are sort of ancillary to that business. So the people that don't work directly in real estate, but they serve the real estate industry, they would all be there. So like all the lawyers would be there because, in order to, swim in the real estate world, you're signing contracts and things like this. So there's a lot of lawyers involved, accountants, people like that. They don't work directly in real estate, but you can be an accountant for real estate clients, things like that. So those people were very clever. They would go to this industry that was known for generating a lot of money. Okay. When you think about it, for a lot of people, what's the most amount of money you're ever going to spend in your life on one thing? It's usually your home, right? Your house or your apartment, or whatever, wherever you're staying. That's usually one of the biggest expenses in your life. So there's a lot of money tied up in real estate. So all these people would go to those events and they would make connections and, this kind of thing. And if ever the land developer or the residential home builder was looking for a lawyer or an accountant, they would go to the people that they've already met, and it would be the people they met at the trade shows, right? So those ended up being the clients of the lawyers and the accountants and all this. And you've got yourself some clients that basically have money and they're looking for your services. It's a great thing to do. So same thing for anybody out there that, when you're wanting to start a business and you're trying to figure out what could you do, okay? One of the things that is a good, is a good way to think about it is, where are they spending a lot of money and where are they, looking for people with my abilities or my skills or something I could contribute, whether you're selling a product or a service, where would that be, right? A lot of people, when you do, let's do this together, you kind of go and you say like side hustle. Let's do this together. Side hustle. Hey, there you go. Side hustle ideas. Look at that. Okay, now you've got some articles, but this kind of stuff, like here's some basic ideas. This is the kind of cliched things that people start with, right? And a lot of these suggestions, like for example, rent out your car. That suggestion is coming from a place of like, what do I have that I could use to start a business, right? Well, what I'm advocating for, what I'm trying to present to you guys now is that you should think from the opposite side. It shouldn't necessarily be starting from it being all about you. What can I do? It should be, what do people want? What are people spending money on? Okay, let's start with that. And then of all those things, let's see if there's something that I can contribute to that. Okay, so you're sort of going about it from the opposite direction. Okay, that's something that I want to throw out there as a way of assisting you in thinking up the original ideas that you could do. And yes, we have somebody in the chat. This is Zingping. Hey man, I live in South Africa and we have a 34% unemployment rate. What do you recommend I do? Well, obviously in a live stream that talks about side hustles, this is about starting a business. So that's what I'm going to recommend here. Okay. I don't know what your background is. I don't know what skills you have. I don't know what the job situation is there. So I can't really comment on that. But if presumably you've tried that stuff, you've gone down that road first, and it's not producing results immediately, then obviously one thing that you could do, depending on who you are and what the situation is possibly looking into starting your own business, okay? Now, the reason I say this is because if you've been watching this show for any amount of time, this live stream, you know that I recommend that when people talk about starting a business, okay, I'm kind of very much going against the grain here. I recommend that you don't spend a lot of money. In fact, I recommend that you try and do something that you can start immediately and costs you essentially zero. Okay, that's what I recommend. If you have some skill, if you have some ability, okay, or some capability, that's kind of where I would start. And then if you can try and marry that up with the idea of like what I was saying, what are people willing to pay for? Where is the demand? And not just demand from a bunch of people that are broke, but demand from a bunch of people that have money to spend, okay? That's why, there's a lot more possibilities out there than a lot of people recommend, okay? So Xingping says, I know Python and I know everything about Windows 10. Okay, well, that's a start. Now, I have been out of the IT development world for well over 10 years, like nearly 20 years, okay? I actually ran a company that was somewhat related to IT, but that was 20 years ago. That was a completely different world. I mean, I don't know if Python was even around then. So I'm not sure. I can't speak directly to those skills, but I mean, one thing to do research on would be if you're wanting to, I suspect by the fact that you mentioned Python and Windows 10, that you're wanting to turn those into some kind of money-making venture, right? You want to make money using your skills in developing, like coding Python or whatever. Now, I can't comment on Python specifically, but that's something you would want to do research on. What do other people who know Python? Why did you take Python originally? Or why did you choose to become a developer or whatever you are? Why did you do that originally? Presumably there was demand for that, right? Okay. Now, if you don't know the answer to those questions, okay, probably something you would want to do is get the answers, okay? And here's how you get the answers. What you do, this is what I would recommend. This is probably the easiest for most people. And that is to get on LinkedIn if you aren't on there already, okay? And start to connect with people in your hometown. Let's do this already, okay? Let's just do this together. Okay. Okay, I don't know. Johannesburg. Okay. So let's pretend for the sake of argument that you're in Johannesburg. Okay, I'm going to go to maps. Right. Okay. Now, I know nothing about South Africa. I know the capital is Pretoria, but beyond that, and you've got a couple of landlocked countries within South Africa. But okay, so here we're looking at Johannesburg. Let's pretend that's where you live. Now, let's look at, software, okay? Okay, so like we're looking at a big bird's eye view here. If you zoomed in and you said search this area, I have no idea of Johannesburg, like if there's residential areas or commercial areas, but you see what's popping up, okay, here are some companies that presumably are in the software business. So here we go. I don't know if you can see this. It's very small on my screen, but Evoltive Software Solutions, okay, Integrity Software, iAdapt Software for Life, okay, Ace CAD Software. Now let's click on some random one, Software Works. Okay, here's a company that, let's pretend you lived in Johannesburg, is right near you. Okay, here's the information for it. There's its name, its address. In this case, it doesn't have a website that's listed on here, okay? But what you would do then, okay, you make a list of these companies. Presumably, these companies will hire people that are in the software, have some software background, either as a salesperson in a store or a developer or a systems admin, like whatever they happen to be, okay? These are contenders. Now, these can be either places you would want to look for a job, okay? Or they could be potential clients of yours if you have something to offer in the world of software. If you, I don't know, you do troubleshooting or you solve some kind of problem. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a Python developer. I don't know the applications of it. But presumably this is where you would kind of start, okay? These are the players that are near you. Then you can go on LinkedIn, okay? And knowing these companies, okay? A third possible use for knowing this, not a job, not a client, but is a source of information. So what you could do is you could go on LinkedIn, you could connect, you could do a search for Works, Software Works, this company here. And usually one or more of the employees will show up on a LinkedIn people search. Okay, you search your area, Johannesburg, and you look for this company, and then you can do a people search. You'll see the individuals in this company. Usually you get the owner or, a couple of the managers. And what you can do is you can send a message to those people and say, like, look, I'm really passionate about software. I see that your company does some great work with software, and I'm in Johannesburg. I would love to be able to get half an hour of your time to ask you a few questions about the software industry and where it's going. Would you be able to spare me half an hour? You name the time, date, and place, and I will meet you. Okay? And a lot of people, not everyone will respond to that, obviously, but a certain percentage of people will. So like if it's 10% or 20% of people, they will respond to that. So if you send out that message to individuals that are in all these businesses near you, okay? Let's say you send out like that template message to 100 people or 200 people, okay? Might take you a couple hours to do that, but you will get 10 to 20% or a certain percentage that will respond and say, sure, yeah, how is next Thursday for you? Usually you can suggest, what I've done in the past is I suggest like a local Starbucks that's near them. I'll meet you here. Like, does that work for you? I'll suggest like a date, time, and place, or let them do it, or give them a great way that professionals do it is you give people a choice of 3 possible time slots. You say, I could do next Tuesday at 2, I could do next Wednesday at 4, and I could do next Friday at 8 a.m. or something like that. And you're doing an informational interview. You're sitting down with somebody in the software business, okay? And this is your opportunity to ask them whatever you want. So if you're looking for jobs, you could ask them about that. Like, what are skills? What are the employers? What skills will be needed in the future? Get them to talk about it. If you're looking for clients, like I want to create something, I want to create a side hustle that does something with Python and Windows that could assist you. It could help you in some way. What's your biggest problem? You ask them, like, what are some of your business challenges that businesses like yours are facing that you wish you had a solution for? And then you listen to them talk, and then maybe something they say kind of clicks with you, and you're like, hey, I can do that. So what you do is you go away and you come back a week later on LinkedIn and you send them a message and you say, look, I was thinking about some of the stuff you told me. Thank you, by the way, for taking the trouble to speak to me. I really appreciate it. It was very enlightening, and I appreciate you, helping me out like that. And I was thinking about something you said. You said that, one of your biggest problems was this. Well, if I was able to write a bit of code that you could put on client machines that solve that problem or, whatever, would that be interesting to you? Like, is that something that, you think might go somewhere? And then see what they say, right? And it's this kind of process where you're connecting with people in that world and you're getting informational interviews. You're asking them, what are the challenges? What are the problems? What's coming down the line in the future, in your opinion? Things like this. And if you talk to enough people, like I'd say 20 people, okay, over the course of, I don't know, a month or two, that should start giving you ideas of maybe, where your skills could help people and, where you could start making money. Because after all, you're talking to people that have money to spend if you can provide value to them, if you can solve their problems. Okay, so this is stuff to think about anyway, okay? So there you go. So that's kind of when you come to me with the blanket question, what do you recommend I do? I don't know specifically about your situation, but that's the process or one of the processes that I would employ if I were you, to try and find answers to some of these questions that are specific to you. Oh, wow, look at that. Somebody says, I'm amazing. You guys are amazing because you're here for self-improvement. Thank you so much. Your name got cut off. Your name got cut off. And why is none of this stuff showing in my... I see that my... this thing here is not showing comments. So it makes it even harder for me to see it. But I see that somebody sent me a super sticker that says you are amazing. Thank you very much. Is that Dr. Sid? All I see is DRCI or DRSI. So thank you very much. That's really awesome. But hopefully that's helpful. I mean, this is the kind of thing that anybody can do. This is how you get answers. This is how you get information. So if you're interested in an industry or like, a type of business or, this would be a starting point. Okay. And the name of this is informational interviews. Okay. I have found that for me, this is the best way of getting good quality information. There are other ways to connect with people in a certain industry, of course. You can go to events and things like this. But I found that people are less willing to really open up, and you can't really have long conversations. I've also found that when you do informational interviews with someone you don't know, which is a great way to learn, the first 45 minutes of the conversation, a lot of times you can almost delete that whole thing, because it's only after about half an hour to 45 minutes that you really get into the gold, into the good stuff. People get to know each other. They sort of let their guards down. They feel a bit more comfortable talking to each other. And the way these informational interviews work, if ever you have to do one, is it's really not hard. There's a couple of things to remember. Number one, it's not about you. It's all about them. Don't show up to an informational interview and start talking all about yourself, okay? This person doesn't know you. They don't really care. The only reason they're there is because it's a very flattering kind of thing when someone contacts you and says, you know what? I would love to get your opinions on something. I would love to just listen to what you know about this business that you're in, this thing you do, okay? It's very flattering. That's half the reason why people accept requests for informational interviews, okay? So when you get there, don't start talking all about yourself, okay? Instead, be super polite, be super friendly, and then ask questions about them, And the secret to get people talking is to ask them about things that they enjoy talking about and that they know about. So if they're the founder of, say, a software company, presumably they will enjoy talking about software and what they've done and what their opinions are on software and things like this. They obviously have some strong opinions and a lot of knowledge in that area, and they've built this company presumably themselves. So they're going to have some opinions, and they're going to have some knowledge, and they're going to be proud of what they've done, and they're going to consider themselves an expert in that particular area. So if you ask them all about that stuff, usually what happens is people really enjoy that. They get to talk about something that they enjoy, and they will like you for giving them the opportunity to talk about that. And you need to, this goes without saying, you need to make sure that you're interested and you look interested. So when they say like, oh, this is what we did and I did this, I decided to do it this way. And you go, oh, why did you do it that way? Like you're asking them questions to egg them on, to get them to talk more about it. And you can steer the conversation in an area that you're interested in. But basically that's all you do is you're super polite, you're friendly, and then you ask them a ton of questions about something that presumably they know a lot about and they enjoy talking about. Okay. And that's a great way for anyone to enjoy talking to you, because they're really talking about themselves. And it's useful for you to hear that. But they will enjoy that. And then the way you leave these conversations is you say, well, thank you very much for your time. This has been really, really enlightening, and I've learned a great deal. Now, if you do have a little business card, it costs like the equivalent of $20 or something to print up like a ton of business cards. Just make up your own business cards. That's what I do. You have your name, you have your tagline. Like in your case, it would be Xingping. It would be like, I don't know, Python developer and Windows 10 expert. I don't know. But, some tagline like that, so they know who you are, and then your contact information, maybe even a professional picture of yours in the corner. And then you give them that, and then you say, and then that's the cue for them to give you their business card if they have one. And then you leave it by saying, listen, if I ever have any questions in this area, would I be able to give you a call? Would that be okay? And, 99% of the time they'll say, sure, not a problem. And there you have a contact in that industry. Okay? So if ever you come across another question that you're wondering, you can always pick up the phone and call them, and they'll be, hey, they'll know who you are, and they'll be happy to answer, because you're the person that, they thought was awesome because they had a very pleasant conversation with you that one time, and they were very flattered by you thinking that they were awesome and that you were interested in what they had to say. So that's a great way to do these things. And if you keep doing this, this is like research into whatever industry you're looking to break into, whether to get a job or whether to, work, like start a business in that industry, or these are your clients, if you eventually come out with something. So anyway, hopefully that makes sense. But thank you for the question, Xingping. You are the record holder for the first person in the chat today. I actually have to start. I talked so long, I have to start winding this down in a few minutes. But if anyone has any extra questions, now is your moment of glory. Actually, you can ask it, and I will do my best to answer. Yeah, fish where the fish are, go where the money is. That's why a lot of people that work in financial services tend to make a lot of money, because they are close to the money. The people that they deal with are the ones with all the money. So, it kind of rubs off on them. That's why lawyers make a lot of money too. They are close to the organizations and the individuals that have a lot of money to throw around. And so it rubs off on them. Too often I see people doing side hustles or starting side hustles in industries where most of the potential customers are practically broke. People doing stuff with like music and things like this. And I mean, I'm not knocking it. You can still make a great sort of business, a money-making venture in music. But I've seen a lot of people start up little businesses that, like, your clients are basically people that have no money. That might be kind of a problem. Money's very, very tight for them. So even if you produce something of value, it really limits you. So that's kind of the principle for today, I guess. Go stick close to the money, fish where the fish are. That's one place of looking at it. And there you go. Anyway, this is probably a good place to wind it down for today. I want to thank, there's 23 people here. You guys are all awesome. Thank you so much. Check out my YouTube channel. And if you want to be in the world of business, okay, knowledge is key. Like, if you knew exactly how everything worked, and you knew exactly how all your potential customers thought, this would be a pretty easy challenge. But it's because we don't know those things. That's what makes it hard. Okay. And I can help you with at least part of that. If you are looking to learn about business, okay, that's a great way to start. There are many resources for you. And one of those resources is something I created, which is this course. So For basically $100, you can learn everything that someone who takes a master's of business administration can learn. You can walk away with all that knowledge. Okay, it's a self-study thing. Okay, so you do the work. There are no evaluations, no exams, but you get access to the same textbooks, the same material. I kind of guide you through it. You know, I have a few videos in there that give you overviews and pull out topics that I think are very important and less intuitive. But you basically learn it yourself. And if you are passionate about this, I created it because I think it's a great solution. It's a great way to learn. So it won't be right for some people who, you know, want to go to university and want to do the full meal deal. But for a lot of people that don't have the money and time or inclination to do that, it's a great solution. So check that out. Link in description if you're interested. That's all from me today. Thanks so much for being here. I will be back on Monday with another one of these, and I hope to see you there. Thanks and take care.